I was 8 the first time I smelled burnt oil and rubber instead of Saturday morning pancakes. My Uncle Pete rolled up in his old beat-to-hell 72 F100, leaned across the bench seat and said, "Get in, kid. You're riding shotgun." We drove straight out to his shop on the edge of Tulsa, this sun-bleached little garage off Route 66 that smelled like gasoline and grit. No cartoons, no cereal, just socket wrenches, classic rock on a busted radio, and the sound of compressed air hissing like a rattlesnake. That was it for me. Hooked. My buddies were playing video games or watching Power Rangers. I was under a Pontiac, trying not to drop a wrench on my face. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Uncle Pete treated me like a mechanic in training, not just some dumb kid tagging along. I learned to change oil before I knew how to tie a tie. By 10, I could pull a carburetor apart and rebuild it faster than most grown men. He'd say, "You got good hands, kid, better than your dad's ever were." Yeah, my dad, Gordon, he thought cars were a waste of time, called them glorified lawnmowers, said I should play football or join debate. My mom, Sharon, just looked at me like I was defective. "Why can't you be more like Kyle?" she'd say. Kyle, golden boy, piano lessons, tennis coaching, summer camps in California. Everything came easy to him. My parents treated him like he was made of diamonds. They looked at me like I came from a different planet. Maybe I did. The first time I saw the '69 Stingray, I was 12. Pete had kept it covered in the back of the garage under a heavy canvas tarp. Rally red, T-top, chrome side pipes. My mouth went dry. He popped the hood like he was revealing buried treasure. 327 small block, he said. 4-speed manual, she's a beast. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. All I could do was stare. That was the moment, right then. I didn't care about college or trophies. I didn't want some hand-me-down sedan or a finance degree. I wanted that car. My parents didn't see it, never did. Kyle got a brand new Mustang for graduation, bright white, all paid for. I got a busted Craftsman toolbox from the garage and a reminder to keep working hard. So I did. I worked my ass off. Welding, plumbing, graveyard shifts, weekends. Every greasy bruised knuckle year from 18 to 30 was for that one thing. And I never forgot the look of that Stingray. I didn't party. I didn't date much. While Kyle was out in Arizona, drinking craft beer with frat bros and chasing marketing internships, I was dragging steel cables through grease pits for barely $20 an hour. 14-hour shifts in a plant that felt like hell with a roof. You want to know what motivation smells like? Burnt metal, sweat, and cheap black coffee. I shared a basement in Tulsa with 2 guys from work. One snored loud enough to rattle the ductwork, and the other kept a snake in a tank that reeked like dead mice. Our water heater died every other month, but rent was $200 each, so we dealt. I drove a rusted-out '02 Civic with no AC, busted driver window, and a trunk held shut with a damn bungee cord. Still, I made it work. Every paycheck, I took out what I needed for food, gas, and rent. The rest, straight into that savings account. I renamed it Stingray the night I opened it. I didn't care if it took 10 years. I wasn't giving up. Not this time. Not again. I skipped family holidays, turned down trips, and passed on upgrades. Kyle got flown to Cabo for networking retreats. I bought work boots off Craigslist, and you know what? I liked the grind, because nobody could say I didn't earn what I had. 5 years of that. Welding side gigs on the weekends, tuning engines for friends on the cheap, selling parts on eBay for pocket cash. Then, at 31, it happened. One night, I was scrolling auction listings on my phone during a break when I saw her. Rally red, T-top, 4-speed manual, matching VIN plates, not a scratch out of place. A 1969 Corvette Stingray in pristine condition, sitting in a garage outside Indianapolis. 92 grand, every single cent I had. I called the guy that night. Left a voicemail so shaky it sounded like I was drunk. He called back at 5 the next morning. "If you're serious, bring cash in a trailer." I didn't even wait for the weekend. Took 3 days off work and drove straight up there with a buddy's flatbed. I handed over the cash in thick envelopes and signed the paperwork with greasy hands. No loan, no financing, just me, the title, and 5 years of blood. I didn't even load her up right away. I sat in the driver's seat for a good hour, smelled the leather, gripped the wheel, tapped the clutch like I was holding something holy. Then I drove her all the way home, 700 miles with the windows down, engine humming like a war cry. And yeah, I cried, like a full-grown idiot. Didn't care who saw. That car wasn't just metal. It was my middle finger to every person who doubted me. Every time I was called a dropout or a loser. It was proof. I made it. Couple months later, I met Rachel at a car show in Broken Arrow. She had a rebuilt '74 Camaro with a matte black hood and a socket set in her purse. When I told her about the Stingray, she didn't blink. "You bled for that car," she said. "Nobody's taking it from you." I believed her. Rachel and I were eating burgers in the garage, elbows greasy, when I got the call about Germany. 21 days, industrial ops consult, full system overhaul for a plant outside Munich. Biggest job of my career. My boss called it a reputation maker. I didn't hear half of what he said. My brain was stuck on one thing. What the hell was I supposed to do with the Stingray? My neighborhood in Tulsa was getting rough. Break-ins, stolen bikes, some idiot trying to jack a lifted Tacoma right off the street the week before. No way I was leaving that car out there alone for 3 weeks. My garage was detached and barely locked. I wasn't going to risk it. That car wasn't just a car. It was my life's work. Rachel offered to keep it, but her place was even sketchier than mine. Apartment lot. Too many drunks wandering around. So I called my folks. They lived in Mesa, Arizona, quiet suburb, solid neighborhood. Kyle had moved out 6 months earlier, so there was plenty of space in the garage. It was insulated, secure, and Dad always kept it clean. Figured it was the safest place. "Course we'll take it," Dad said. "It'll be good to see her up close. Your Uncle Pete would have been proud, son." I didn't say anything right away. It was the first real compliment I'd heard from him in years. Mom was on the other line too, but she barely reacted. "Just don't expect me to wash it," she said, half joking, half not. She never got the whole car thing. Still, I drove it down myself the next weekend, covered every inch before loading it up, had the custom cloth cover, tire blocks, even left a checklist taped to the wall inside the garage. Start it once a week. Don't rev it. Don't move it. No one drives it. Period. I even showed Dad how to use the microfiber towels I packed. Said it like a joke, but I was dead serious. That paint job cost me over 10 grand. Rachel was the one who came up with the decoy idea. "What if we swap mine in for yours?" she said. "They look close enough. If anyone's casing the place, they'll think the Stingray's still there." Her Camaro wasn't as clean, but it had the same silhouette. Red, same shape, same curves from 20 feet out. She was willing to leave it with my parents, just to keep the real deal safer. I thought about it hard. "You sure?" I asked. "It's your car," she shrugged. "So what? I didn't spend 5 years grinding for it. You did." That was Rachel. No drama, just solutions. We made the swap the morning before my flight. Backed the real Stingray into a secure storage unit in Scottsdale, climate-controlled and locked up tighter than a bank vault. Then we drove the Camaro down to Mesa and parked it in the garage like nothing had changed. Dad helped me slide the cover over it. "She's a beauty," he said, patting the hood gently. "Can't believe you actually pulled it off." Mom stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. "Why does it matter so much? It's just a car." I didn't respond. There wasn't a point. If she didn't get it by now, she never would. Before I left for the airport, I ran through the instructions one more time with Dad. He nodded the whole way through, said he had it under control. I wanted to believe him. I really did. The jet lag hadn't even worn off when Rachel pulled up to the arrivals curb. I tossed my duffel into the back seat and slid in. She handed me a coffee and grinned. "Welcome home, road warrior." "Thanks," I said, rubbing my eyes. "Let's grab the car first. I want to hear her run before we head home." She nodded, already turning toward Mesa. The Arizona sun burned down on the highway, bright enough to sting. My pulse was steady at first, then started climbing the closer we got to my parents' house. 3 weeks gone, 3 weeks trusting someone else. We rolled into the subdivision around noon. The garage door was wide open. My stomach tightened. The car was gone. Not covered, not moved. Gone. I jumped out before Rachel even parked. "Where the hell is it?" I barked to no one. The garage was empty except for a broom and some boxes. Mom opened the front door like nothing had happened, wearing an apron and that fake smile mask she always used. "You're back," she chirped. "I made sandwiches, turkey and Swiss." I ignored the plate she held out. "Where's the Stingray?" My voice came out sharp. loud enough to make Rachel wince. Mom's smile didn't fade. If anything, it grew smug. "Your brother's in Santorini," she said. "Thanks to that car?" I blinked. "What?" She stepped onto the porch like she was proud of herself. "We sold it. $37,000. Kyle needed a break after everything he's been through." It hit me all at once. The decoy, the Camaro. They thought it was mine. Rachel froze behind me, eyes wide. "Tell me you didn't," she said quietly. I turned back to my mother, feeling my jaw lock. "You sold a car you didn't own? You forged paperwork? For what? A damn vacation?" Mom waved a hand like I was overreacting. "Don't be dramatic. It's just a car." I stepped closer, fists clenched. "It's not just a car. It's Rachel's, and you sold it." Her expression flickered for the first time, a quick flash of confusion. "Rachel's?" Rachel stepped forward now, voice steady but low. "My car. The Camaro you sold was mine. We swapped them before he left. The Corvette isn't even here." For a second, Mom just stared. Then she actually laughed, a short, nervous bark. "Well, that's not what your father said." "Where is he?" I demanded. "In the den." I stormed inside. Dad was sitting in his recliner, TV muted, holding a glass of iced tea like it was a shield. He looked up and went pale. "You sold Rachel's car," I said flat out. He stood, setting the glass down too fast. "We thought it was the Corvette, I swear." "You swore to me you wouldn't touch it," I snapped. "And now you've stolen from my girlfriend, committed fraud, and sent Kyle on a cruise with the money." Dad's hands went up. "We were trying to help him. He's been stressed." "Stressed?" I cut him off. "You don't steal from people to send your golden boy on vacation." Rachel came in behind me, arms crossed. "You need to call him. Tell him to come back." Mom finally stepped inside, face pale now. We can explain this." "No," I said, pointing at her. "You're going to fix it, starting right now." Dad swallowed hard. "We don't have the money anymore. It's all paid out, non-refundable." My heart was hammering so hard my chest ached. "Then you'd better figure something out, because this isn't going away." Mom's voice cracked. "You tricked us with the swap." "You tricked yourselves," Rachel shot back. "We left instructions. We trusted you." Nobody said anything for a moment. The only sound was the hum of the fridge and my own breathing. I took a step toward the door. "You've got until Friday to make this right," I said. "Or we call the cops. Grand theft auto, fraud, the whole package." Dad sagged against the counter like the air had left his body. Mom just stared at the floor, jaw trembling. Rachel touched my arm. "Let's go." I didn't look back as we walked out. That Friday, we met Kevin in his office downtown. Rachel had already given him every detail, and he had a folder ready with printed screenshots, messages, VIN records. The whole mess lined up like a prosecution board. Kevin didn't waste time. They forged a title, sold a car they didn't own, and used the money for personal gain, he said, flipping through papers. "That's textbook Grand Theft Auto. Could be up to 15 years if the DA pushes it." My mom looked like she might puke. My dad just kept rubbing his temples. Kevin slid another paper across the table. "There's more. The buyer's already contacted me. Private collector from Nevada. Real serious about VINs and documentation. He ran the numbers, saw the Camaro didn't match the sale file. He's confused now. That confusion, if it turns to anger, he's going to sue." Rachel sat quiet, arms crossed, watching like a hawk. Not a single word from her. I leaned in. "So here it is. Make it right, or we go to court. No middle ground." Dad cleared his throat. "We don't have that kind of money." "Then figure it out," I snapped. Mom glanced at Kevin. "How much are you demanding?" Kevin didn't flinch. $42,000. She blinked fast. "What? The car only sold for 37? That's for the car," I cut in. "The other 5 is for Rachel's time, stress, and what she's owed for storage and transport fees. And that's conservative." Kevin nodded. "You got off lucky. If this hits court, that number triples." My dad shifted in his seat. "Can't we just make payments?" Rachel finally spoke. "No payments unless we see a real plan, and it starts now." They went quiet again. I could see the wheels turning, trying to figure out which couch cushions still had coins in them. After a minute, Mom finally spoke. "I could sell the sapphire set," she said, voice low. "The earrings and bracelet, that's maybe $8 grand. Dad stared at her. That's from your mother. She didn't look at him. And we could borrow from the retirement, at least half, then maybe a personal loan for the rest. I didn't say anything. I just sat back and let them stew in it. Rachel pulled a pen from her purse. Write it up, Kevin. By Sunday, they called us with the plan, liquidating Mom's jewelry, borrowing against the retirement account, high-interest personal loan to cover the rest. Kyle didn't answer their calls. Big shock. We made it clear. $42,000 total, in full, no delays, no excuses. Kevin drafted the agreement that night, everything legally binding. I watched my dad's hands shake as he signed the first page. Rachel didn't blink. You don't pay on time? We press charges. Mom nodded, quiet as a whisper. We understand. When we walked out of that office, I didn't feel satisfied, not happy, not vindicated, just done. Tired in a way that doesn't go away with sleep. Rachel slipped her hand into mine once we hit the sidewalk. You okay? I shook my head. Not yet. She squeezed once, then let go. You will be. 2 days after the agreement was signed, my mom called and left a voicemail, voice trembling like she'd been crying for hours. We're your parents, she said. Isn't that worth something? I didn't call back. Instead, I texted, I'll accept the payments, but only after you send me a notarized apology, signed by both of you, admitting what you did and promising never to touch my property again. 10 minutes later, Dad called. That's excessive. No, I said. That's necessary. We're already paying. Then put it in writing. He hung up. Rachel was the one who drafted it. 4 pages, double-spaced, direct, clear, legal, every lie laid out. Every detail of what they forged, what they sold, and what they used it for. She even added a clause about future boundaries, not just cars, but any property, physical or financial. I wanted it airtight. We sent it over the next morning. They refused. Mom left another message, voice sharp this time. You're humiliating us. I sent back 2 words. You earned it. Kevin reminded them criminal charges were still an option, and the buyer from Nevada still had legal grounds to sue, even after getting his money back. That's when they folded. We met again at Kevin's office. No small talk, no, how have you been? Just Dad holding the pen like it weighed 100 pounds, and Mom crying before she even sat down. I never wanted this, she said through her tears. I didn't say anything. Rachel passed her the document. They read it line by line. I watched their faces fall with every paragraph. Every sentence was a mirror. By the end, Mom couldn't stop sniffling, and Dad's hand was shaking as he signed. Rachel took the copy straight to a framing shop the next day, hung it in her garage above her tool chest, right next to her inspection certificates. 4 pages in a black frame, no glass, just bold black ink, clear as day. The buyer got his refund. The Camaro came back undamaged. Rachel didn't say much when she saw it in the driveway again, just gave me a nod and rolled the cover back over it like she was tucking in a kid. And Kyle, he didn't even come back from Greece until the next week. Posted beach pics on Instagram like nothing had happened. Sunset shots, cocktails. Captioned one of them, "Earn this." I texted him, "Call me." He waited 2 days, then replied, "Sorry about the mix-up." Didn't know, bullshit. He knew Mom and Dad were always cleaning up after him. He knew if he smiled wide enough and said the right words, they'd hand him whatever he wanted, even if they had to burn down everything else to do it. I blocked his number right after that. Didn't say a word. Rachel came over that night with takeout and 2 beers. We sat on the hood of the real Stingray in the garage, eating fries out of the bag. She didn't gloat, didn't say, "Told you so." Just handed me the last onion ring and said, "We're not done yet." And I believed her. 3 days later, my mom's sister called. I didn't even get a hello, just launched straight into it. "You've humiliated your parents. Over a car," she snapped. "What kind of son does that?" I held the phone to my ear and stared out the window, jaw tight. "It's not about the car." "Oh, really?" she scoffed. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're punishing your whole family over a toy with wheels." I didn't raise my voice, just said it flat. "It's about trust. It's about them stealing, lying, and forging my girlfriend's name. And it's about me getting screwed over for 30 years while Kyle floats through life like it's all free samples." Silence for a second, then, "You've changed." I hung up. An hour later, Uncle Pete called. I braced for it, but he didn't yell at me. "Jesus Christ," he said, voice low and pissed. "They sold a car and sent Kyle to Europe? With forged papers?" "Yup." He let out a long breath. "They'd better be damn glad that car wasn't the real one. They still committed felony theft." "Hell yeah, they did. You need anything, you call me." I didn't say it out loud, but hearing him back me up, that was the only family call that didn't make me feel like I was losing my mind. Rachel and I kept steady. She never rubbed it in, never threw an "I told you so" in my face. She just helped me hold the line. Every time my resolve wobbled, she reminded me how deep they had crossed it. "You set a boundary," she said one night while we were cleaning tools in her garage. "They're mad they can't guilt you into moving it." She wasn't wrong. A week after the last payment hit Rachel's account, my dad texted me. "Want to come over? Thinking about rebuilding the old C10 in the back. Thought we could do it together. You know, as a gesture." I stared at it for a while. It was the most effort he'd made to connect in years. I typed, "I'll think about it," and hit send. But I didn't think about it. Not really. Because every time I pictured being in that garage again, the smell of grease, the socket wrenches, the idle talk, all I could hear was my mom saying, "Thanks to that car." All I could see was Kyle drinking cocktails on a yacht bought with someone else's sweat. Rachel and I went to a car meet that weekend. Small thing out in Chandler, nothing fancy. Just gearheads with folding chairs and cooler beers. She wore her cut-off flannel and had smudges of polish on her jeans. Looked more at home than half the guys there. We parked the Stingray up front, next to a row of old-school Chevelles. People walked by and stared. One guy leaned in close and asked if it was original paint. I said yes, but it cost me everything. He laughed like it was a joke. I didn't correct him. On the way home, Rachel looked over at me. "You going to rebuild that truck with him?" I shook my head. "Not yet." She didn't push, just nodded, hand resting on the center console. There's a difference between forgiveness and forgetting. I wasn't ready for either. A few days after the Chandler meet, Rachel and I sat down with Kevin again to lock everything in. Payment schedule, late penalties, legal language sharp enough to draw blood. Both of my parents showed up, early and quiet. They didn't argue, didn't stall, just signed where Kevin pointed and kept their eyes down. 6 months, $7,000 a month. 42 grand in total. Rachel added one condition. If even one payment bounced, we'd escalate. Civil court. Maybe criminal. No second chances. They agreed. First payment hit right on time, then the next, and the next. Not once were they late. No missed transfers, no complaints, not even a snide comment. I knew where the money came from. Mom's jewelry box was empty, and Dad sold his classic vinyl collection on Facebook Marketplace. He'd spent decades building that thing up, probably killed him inside. Kyle, of course, never chipped in. Not a dollar, not a call, not even a text. At one point, Dad mentioned something about family therapy. "Might help everyone move forward," he said. I didn't even look up from my sandwich. "You made this mess. You clean it up." Rachel leaned back in her chair and sipped her drink, not saying a word. Just nodded once when I was done talking. I didn't block my parents, didn't cut them off entirely, but I changed the rules. I started visiting once a month. No sleepovers, no long phone calls, just quick drop-ins. Coffee at the kitchen table, maybe an hour or two, max. We talked weather, health updates, sometimes sports. They never brought up the car. And I never brought up Kyle. It was like we were walking on glass with a smile plastered over it. Everyone pretending it was normal, but every time we got up to leave, they'd stop us. "Tell Rachel thank you again," Mom would say. Or, "We appreciate her patience." She never asked for that appreciation, never needed it, but they gave it to her anyway. Like maybe it was easier to phase her strength than my silence. After one visit, Dad walked us to the car. He stood by the passenger side window while Rachel buckled in. "You're a solid woman," he told her. "Wish we'd met under better circumstances." She looked him straight in the eye. "You still can. Just don't screw up again." He nodded, hands in his pockets. Didn't say another word. As I pulled out of the driveway, Rachel glanced over. "You okay?" I shrugged. Better than I was. We didn't talk much on the drive home. Didn't need to. That silence, it wasn't awkward. It was earned. 1 year later, I fired up the Stingray just past 5 a.m. The garage door creaked open. and that engine purred like a lion waking up. I slid behind the wheel with my coffee in the cup holder and the smell of leather, fuel, and victory in the air. Cruised down old Route 66 with the sun barely up and the roads wide open. Every curve felt sharp, every gear shift smooth. I wasn't just driving, I was owning. Pulled into the lot behind a diner outside Flagstaff. Low-key car meet. Old-timers with folding chairs. Younger guys showing off mods they barely understood. I backed into a space between a '68 Mustang and a new-gen Camaro. Whole row of muscle. All polished, loud, proud. But none of them were this. An older guy with a trimmed gray beard walked over, nodded at the Stingray. "How long you had her?" I took a sip of coffee, looked at the hood gleaming in the morning light. 12 months since the real homecoming," he whistled. "She's a beauty. Looks like she's never spent a night outside." "She hasn't," I said. Rachel rolled in 10 minutes later. Her hair was pulled back, sunglasses on, fresh donuts in one hand, and a new polished kit in the other. She tapped the hood with her knuckles. "Still can't believe this thing didn't get stolen." I smiled. "Me neither." She leaned against the fender and handed me a donut. "You thinking about selling?" "Never." Rachel didn't say anything else. She didn't have to. She never brings it up unless I do. Never throws it in my face. That's not who she is. We stood there for a while, just taking it in. The car, the scene, the fact that after all that chaos, this piece of metal still belonged to me. Every time I looked at that car, it reminded me of what I'd built, what I'd earned, and what I refused to let anyone take. Yeah, I lost some things that year. Trust, time, any illusion I had left about family always having your back. But I gained something bigger. Control.